Welcome to the Deliberate Leaders podcast with Emerging Talent. I'm your host, Anna. On this podcast, we connect with professionals in their 20s and 30s to gain insight into their journeys, aspirations, and motivations. I'm excited to introduce to you Duncan Robertson with Tamarack Grove Engineering. Hello.
Hey Anna, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Okay, so getting right into the first question, help me understand your career journey.
Yeah, it's been a pretty straight path, so hopefully easy for the people to follow. So I graduated from Boise State University in spring of 2019, took about 3 weeks off, and then jumped right into the role that I'm currently in with Tamarack Grove. The roles changed a little bit over the last 4 years, but I've been in something to do with marketing the whole time. Started out more of a small role, managing website and social media, and then it's grown into overseeing all of our marketing efforts plus some business development. So I get to develop client relationships and seek out new opportunities, which is something that I personally like to do. So the fact that I could pair that with my professional passion and journey has been fun. So yeah, I've been in this role with this awesome company for the last 4 years, and then I also started um, I'm an adjunct instructor at Boise State teaching in their lead certificate program. So I've been doing that since 2020. My first semester doing that turned into the COVID outbreak semester. So I learned a lot quickly about teaching both in person and virtually. And then really have been in person doing that since then, since spring of 2020. So it's been a great journey for that, something that I never thought I'd have the opportunity to do, but grateful that my Tamarack Grove team supports me teaching there at Boise State, and that the Boise State team is flexible enough to work that into my full-time big boy job.
Yes. Did you foresee the growth in your position as quickly as it happened?
I did not. I honestly had no idea what to expect. I didn't even know that you could do marketing for an engineering company. That was completely foreign to me. I went to school studying communication, so I think I was always headed towards marketing. Just I like people, I like promotion and kind of the creative side, but I definitely didn't know or think that I would work in the engineering field. And so grateful that I had a relationship that made that possible, just with a referral and whatnot. But I didn't see me learning and doing as much as I have in 4 years. And I've heard from other people in similar positions that that doesn't often happen. So definitely grateful for the opportunity to be a team of one. I didn't know what to expect coming in because the role was undefined. It was a new role. The company just turned 20 this year, so really when I joined, it was still young, and I'd say we're still young and small. We're about 40 people, so it's kind of, hey, take this and run. Sky's the limit, and so that's kind of given me the creative freedom to, I think, help grow the role, but also grow in the role, if that makes sense. So yeah, to answer your question, definitely did not think it would go this fast, but I kind of think of it like a rodeo. I'm just hanging on and trying to learn as fast as I can. But I think that that's what keeps me coming back every day.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I'm glad that you have a job that gives you that satisfaction.
Yeah.
How are you defining success in your career?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say it's not necessarily like certain milestones or anything that it's not necessarily like project delivery or anything like that. My success and kind of job satisfaction, I think, comes more from personal growth aligning with the company's growth. I think if I can see my own growth in my career growing at the same pace that the company's growing as a whole, especially in this kind of unique situation of being the marketing department. I am the presence, which is a big task and it's a lot of pressure, but I think also success to me comes from somebody letting me know, hey, I saw, a video that you guys put out. I think it was really cool. Or, hey, I've seen a lot of social media posts lately. And even though that's a small scope of what I do in the bigger picture, to me, success is that brand awareness of our company. It's me knowing that, hey, it might feel small or it might even seem insignificant to to me when I'm doing it. But if somebody lets me know, hey, I saw that or I heard about that, that kind of keeps me going to the next thing.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you have a mentor that helps you with all this big project management stuff?
Yeah, luckily, and I had no idea about the architecture, engineering, construction industry, but it's a very close industry. And so my first mentor is the one who hired me, Brian. He's our CEO of the company. And luckily for being a structural engineer, he's very passionate about marketing. And I honestly think that's why I've gotten to where I'm at today. I think I could have easily just jumped into a role that was kind of a dead end and, doing the same thing day after day, but he really gave me the opportunity to keep growing. And so having him that understands industry on one side and then also marketing and is passionate about investing time and money into it. He's been a great mentor for me just to teach me about the industry, but also support my marketing goals, support the company's growth and marketing, really trying things that other engineering companies haven't done that are not traditional. That's kind of what you have to do in this industry to stay relevant and to kind of push the envelope a little bit. So he's definitely my industry mentor. There's countless other people. I'm part of an industry organization called SMPS. It's the Society for Marketing Professional Services. I had the opportunity to bring the chapter here to Idaho with another gal here in the industry, but I've met so many great mentors through that. And being a team of one internally, I usually rely on a lot of those professionals who have gone before me and just kind of know the dance and can make sure that, hey, if you can hold off making this mistake by doing X, Y, and Z, then that's what I would recommend. So I'm blessed to have a kind of a series of mentors, if you will.
Yeah. Are you meeting with those mentors weekly, or is this just like supportive through passing?
Mm. Yeah, really good question. So Brian and I meet weekly. It's a cool relationship being that he is the CEO. He has plenty of other things to worry about, but we have 1 hour dedicated each week, and our offices are also right next to each other. So we talk, we talk otherwise just because we're in close proximity, and we'll hang out outside of work too, which just helps the personal side of that relationship. But on the actual calendar, we do meet once a week, and we talk specific about marketing and business development. We also meet quarterly to talk not about action items, but about my personal development and my growth. So that's always nice knowing that he's willing to check in and cares about my success. The other people that I mentioned, just more of the industry professionals, those are just kind of an as needed support role. I'll reach out via phone or email anytime I have a question, and usually their response is same day or, hey, let's talk about this more. We'll hop on a 30-minute Zoom call. So luckily I have those resources at my fingertips, but I would recommend kind of a combo of both. Have those people in your back pocket, but also the ones that you can reach out to immediately and go sit down with, have coffee with, have real good in-person conversations. It definitely makes a difference.
Yeah. The networking groups for me have been incredible just for that alone. Like, who do I need to call that
Mm-hmm.
can fill this need? Yeah.
It makes a huge difference just knowing even people that might not work in your same job function or role. Even just knowing that there's somebody that knows something that you don't, and it might be in an adjacent industry or something like that, but just asking for ideas. I even call competitors of ours, of people who are in the same role, and say, hey, we're trying to do this. I know you've done it before. We're not going to share all the tricks and trades of the whole industry, but people are so much more willing to help than you would think. And all you have to do is reach out and ask, because if you don't, then you don't know what people are willing to share. So yeah, definitely be bold and reach out.
Yeah. How do you prioritize your professional goals?
Yeah, that one, it's a little bit hard to measure, and it's kind of like that measuring success for me. I have goals as far as like certifications that I want to get, or accomplishments that I want to reach kind of in that marketing organization that I'm part of. There's a certification that I'm going to test for this fall. And to me, that's kind of the next step in my marketing journey in this industry. But I think really sitting down at the beginning, or I guess the end of the year prior, and saying what do we want to accomplish as a firm next year, and then I kind of zoom in on that and say what do I want to accomplish as a professional, because we could say, hey, we want to pull off 10 video series next year, but video is not my expertise or my strength, so I have to tap into my network and then coordinate with other people on what's going to make us look best as a firm. So I would say for my personal goals, trying to align those as much with the company as I can, and also not trying to stretch myself too thin. Like if I know, hey, I'm only going to be able to do so much this next year, then I'll do that and make it so. Oops. Sorry, the light turned off on me.
That's okay.
I'll make it so that I know, hey, I'll kind of a stepping stone goal, if that makes sense. Take one thing at a time, maybe get a little bit better at designing something or strategic planning this year, and then maybe complete the goal the next year. So basically just not biting off more than I can chew at once.
Yeah. Are you planning year at a time, or do you have like a 1, 3, 5 year plan?
Yeah, so I actually have both written down. So I have basically on a sheet of paper, I have up to 5 years defined, and then some of the goals are only 1 year goals. Some of them are, a little more straightforward, but some of them I have broken up into 1, 3, and 5 so that I can measure that progress without having to have the pressure of basically accomplishing everything at one time.
Yeah, and how, for me, when I set a 5 year goal, I'm kind of like, this is really intimidating because maybe the pieces don't align and then it doesn't happen, and then I'm crushed because it doesn't happen. How do you manage, like, setting that goal so far in advance, but then managing your expectations?
Yeah, I love that question. It's actually something that we talk about in the leadership program at Boise State. So I'll lean on that experience a little bit. We talk about setting small, attainable goals, and everybody has heard of SMART goals before. But it's kind of a step further than that, because it's one thing to set the SMART goals, but the timeliness part is kind of where the separation happens. That's kind of where you go in depth, where, hey, I want to accomplish this goal in the next 5 years. But a lot of times, like you said, I look at that where, okay, I don't have to start for a year or two at least, maybe a couple more than that, because it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like it's that important if I've set it out 5 years from now. So in the leadership program, we talk about what can you do now that it takes small steps towards that goal by setting actual goals. So if you have that 5 year goal, what do you want to accomplish in 6 months? Make it very short, short term, easy to grasp. It's what your life is going to look like in 6 months. However, 5 years from now, you could own a house or a new car, or you could be married or have kids. You have no idea what 5 years down the road is going to bring, but 6 months to a year, you can probably have a little bit better idea of what that's going to look like. So we talk about setting those small goals that they might seem like they're kind of far off, but if you do the simple things throughout, we call them simple daily disciplines, then it's going to add up over time. And all of a sudden you look up in 3 years and you're more than halfway to your time frame, and you're also more than halfway to your goal. So really just breaking it up in a way that's attainable now, so that in 5 years, you're not wishing you would have started sooner.
Yeah, good. Have you ever experienced any particular moments of doubt or uncertainty?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that's how everybody grows. Trying to pinpoint one. I mean, honestly, going into the spring semester of my senior year of college, anybody who has studied communications or even a business degree knows it's so valuable to get that degree, but it's also so broad that I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I started to apply to some just random positions. I always thought maybe going into nonprofit or community relations or something like that, because I didn't have any direction. I was so excited that I was finishing up my degree and I wanted to get a job. I knew I was staying here in Boise, but that was all. I didn't know, where do my talents and skill set fit into a certain box, or do I have to make my own box? So I'd say that's probably the most doubt that I had in recent history, just looking at graduating. It's such an exciting close on a chapter, but then literally having no idea what was next. And I think just starting to ask questions, I started asking people, hey, what do you think I would be good at? Or what do you think this skill set would apply to? And ultimately, that's how the conversation started for the position that I'm in now. But I never would have had any idea if I didn't just start talking to people.
Yeah, I'm sure you experienced some type of like imposter syndrome or just like day-to-day stuff. You're like, oh my gosh. But do you think that's maybe limited a little bit because of the support you have from your CEO and team?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we work in the office, which I think just helps my morale personally. I love being around people. I always have. I played team sports growing up. Like I've always been supported by a team, and vice versa. I also love supporting a team. And so I think that that helps because I can turn around and ask, the person in my office a question, or even just talk about something totally unrelated to work to keep that, charisma going with people. But as far as it goes, I mean, really being able to tap into people and have that support to keep progressing forward. I think if I was isolated in my position, which on paper I'm the only marketing person, but I'm far from isolated as far as support goes. I mean, we have a whole administrative team here made up of 8 people, and we all have different job functions, but we all support each other so much. And then in addition to that, I have 2 principals that highly value marketing. It would be easy for them to kind of put me in a corner and say, hey, increase our followers and our engagement on social media. And it could start and end there, but it's grown into so much more than that because they value it and I have that support. And so I think if you can get buy-in with the people that are around you, whether they're on the same level or they're your superior at your company or your organization, I do really think that it makes a huge difference. Because honestly, if I was put to a dead end or kind of put in a corner, I probably would have looked elsewhere. But there hasn't been a day that I've thought about that, because the sky was the limit 4 years ago and I still feel that way today.
Yeah. On that note, is there anything that you've been hesitant to pursue?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, one thing that I always tell people is I'm not a graphic designer, and that I feel like has always kind of been my crutch. I love being creative, but I feel like I have a ceiling when it comes to design elements and whatnot. And so I kind of got thrown into the social media role, which was awesome. And I continue to do that today. But then that kind of bleeds into designing a flyer or designing an ad for a magazine. And these are all things that I had never done before. And so I've tried to kind of hone in on my social media creative ability to translate to print or online advertising. But that's probably the scariest thing that I do, because I was never trained in graphics, or my Adobe knowledge kind of caps out. And so I'm always hesitant to go deeper than I know, because even though it seems like I learn a little bit here and there, each month or each year, there's people that know so much more than me. And so I'd say that that's where I've been most hesitant to try to advance or even take more Adobe classes, partially because I don't necessarily want to be a graphic designer. So maybe I want to, I'd rather outsource that. But it's also really taught me how to just delegate and call on, a third party marketing company or a freelance graphic designer that maybe they know way more than we do. And I have the vision, like if I could just look at a piece of paper and translate what was in my head onto there, we'd be golden. But learning how to delegate and really use other people's strengths is, I think, what I've learned from my hesitant habits.
Yeah, you're on the right track. I mean,
Yeah,
don't delegate everything, but it's good to know when it's appropriate to delegate.
definitely.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. We're going to move into like a rapid fire. So I'll ask you the question, You answer and then we'll move on.
Okay.
What is your go-to source of inspiration when you need to refocus and motivate yourself as a leader?
Mm, I love that. Couple things come to mind. I would say one would be podcasts. There's a lot of good industry podcasts that I listen to, and then I'm always looking for a good book. As much as I don't love to read, I've found that there's so much knowledge in just reading different material and perspectives.
Yes. What is your book that you go to all the time?
Yeah. There's I forget how many it is. Some like 5 habits of highly effective people. 5 or 10, 7. I don't remember how many it is. That's one that I do. And then I'm actually reading one right now called Know What You're For, and it's capital FOR. It's kind of a marketing based book, but there's been a lot of great kind of inspirational perspectives in that I really enjoy.
Yeah. What's one self-development practice that you swear by, and how has it helped you in your leadership journey?
Mm. I would say asking questions, even if you have no idea where to start. I found so much value in partially networking. You mentioned that earlier, of just putting yourself out there. I always wanted to know the answer growing up. Like in school, I always wanted to be the one who knew, but I was never the smartest kid. So I always had a little bit of doubt there. And I've learned since college, even to just put yourself out there, send the email, pick up the phone and call. Ask that person when you're sitting at a lunch meeting. There's so much value in just the ability to, and then also to listen rather than talk. A lot of times we like to hear ourselves talk, and we like to talk about us and our companies and whatnot, but just to listen to what other people have to say, there's so much value in learning that way. And I think that's where then in turn I've been able to grow the most.
Yeah. If you could develop one leadership trait overnight, what would it be?
I would say effective multitasking. think I think every leader wishes they could take on more. And I would love to one day lead a team of people. In my role currently, I'm just a one-man team. And so I think trying to learn that now so that the future people that I might get to lead could benefit from that rather than me trying to take everything on and doing it subpar. I'd rather be able to take on, one or two things and absolutely excel at them, but then, you know, inspire and lead other people to do the other things even better than I would have. So right now, it's just trying to multitask and get things done.
Good. What is your best tip or trick or tool to leverage your personal or professional life?
Mm. I would say just turn it off. At the end of the day, well, first draw a line in the sand. You have to know when enough is enough for that day. I think COVID and working from home kind of blurred the lines a little bit. People could easily, roll out of bed and grab a laptop and start working, and then all of a sudden it's 8 p.m. But um, fortunately, I work for a company that believes in 8 to 5, and it's going to be there tomorrow. Um, but it is still easy to get caught up in the work or a task. So I would say set your to-do list for the day, or even for the afternoon when you know you only have 3 hours left in the day. What do I need to accomplish by 5 o'clock or by 6 o'clock? And then just shut it off. I've learned, and also I book myself so much on the personal side that usually I have to leave the office. So if you give yourself obligations that you have to get to, I would say that is also a little helpful hint.
That's clever. Sometimes I do that and then forget to eat dinner. So,
Yeah. Yes. Also make sure that you eat all 3 meals a day. People work through lunch way more than they should.
yeah. Oh, thank you, Duncan, for sharing all of your insights and tips, and for sharing where you are and where you're going. If someone listening has resonated with you and wants to reach out for a cup of coffee or as a short-term mentor, what is the best way they can reach you?
Yeah, I'm very active on LinkedIn, so you can look up Duncan H. Robertson on LinkedIn. I'm happy to connect. If you're in the Boise area, always happy to grab lunch or coffee, but always happy to hop on Zoom or a phone call too. I think networking and talking to people is the best way to learn, and hopefully I can be a resource for somebody else out there.
Yeah, super cool. For our listeners, this is a Spotify exclusive podcast. So if you enjoy the content, please subscribe and follow this channel. If you know someone who could benefit from hearing this message, please send it their way too. You can find Deliberate Directions on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and locally in Boise, Idaho. Thanks for listening.